Hello, it's currently that odd period here between Christmas and New Year where you don't really know what day it is. And this evening, I know what day it is because it says Saturday on the top of the screen. It doesn't feel like a Saturday, it feels like, I don't know. But this evening I've been reading the website The Register. You know The Register, formerly British website, used to be very accurate and lots of investigations and looking into things. Kind of fairly biting, always had to be the site, was it called The Site That Bites Back? Anyway, it's far more American these days and about as toothless as those grannies Wayne Rooney used to visit. And there was a retro article on here today, and I had reasonably high hopes. Reasonably, but let's have a look, have we? Christmas 1984, the last hurrah for 8-bit home computers. Yeah, okay, 84. Saturation point, and Nintendo and Sega were just around the corner. Not only for kind of like 8 to 10 years. Remember the excitement of leafing through a catalogue of home computer bargains, or perhaps gazing longingly at a festive tech display in Britain's W.H. Smith's, or Computerland if you live stateside, because the Register these days has to... Yeah, they have to kind of, if there's anything British on there, they have to make a concession to the American market, lest these poor people can't understand, because apparently they can't cope with such concepts, apparently, according to the registers, shops in other countries with different names. The video game crash of 83 had already happened in the US, but the UK's home computer market was still buoyant in 84, even if the cracks of oversaturation were already starting to show. This writer, glued to the BBC's television production of The Box of Delights, certainly didn't realise it at the time. So, a browse through the pages of 1984 booklet from Argos shows Argos, of course, a famous computer retailer who had everything. They didn't, in case. For the three of you who weren't there, no. They had computers from Atari, Commodore 64 and ZX Spectrum, and the shelves of products were... shelves of retailers were packed with products from manufacturers that, in hindsight, were a bit over-optimistic. We know the market was completely saturated in 84, and 85 was a bad... 85 was very much the worst Christmas, actually. Still, the UK's consumers are spoiled for choice. Bit of information there. However, it may not be obvious to the consumers of the time, the wheels were already starting to come off for hardware manufacturers. It's true. Texas Instruments had already ditched its home computer. Other companies such as Dragon Data, responsible for introducing Dragon 32 and 64 to the UK market, collapsed in 84. Yes, lots of compute. It was oversaturated. Everything collapsed. Things were even starting to look dicey for Sinclair, which has struggled to bring the ZX Spectrum, High-Point, the QR... high-end counterpart, the QR, to market. I'd argue the problem with Sinclair was trying to make electric cars and flat-screen televisions and all sorts of things rather than more Spectrums. In the UK, Christmas 84 marked the last hurrah for home computer market as it once was. Yeah, only if you want a home computer market where there's a million computers available. Some manufacturers will carry on a while longer. Atari will go on to release the ST, competing with Commodore's Amiga, which endured into the 90s. Both companies maintained the legacy systems for a few more years. When did Commodore stop manufacturing the C64? Was it 92 or 93? That's more than a few more years, isn't it? And at this point, I would like to mention that the Sinclair Spectrum was the best-selling home computer in the UK every year from 1982 until 1990. So that's where we are, right? Keep that in mind. Amstrad come along, blah, blah, blah. Something about the Electron, and we all know about the ELK. So lurking behind the scenes were Nintendo and Sega, were they? Nintendo's Famicom was released in Japan in 1983. It was. And a redesigned version was launched in the European markets in 1986. Yeah, but no one was going to see any of them in the UK for in any numbers for many years, as we'll find out. Sega's Master System arrived in European shores in 1987, but again, is not going to make any impact for a little while yet. After Christmas 84, the UK home computer market was saturated, leaving the way clear for dedicated game machines to render existing hardware obsolete. Do you remember? Christmas 85, I'm going to have a Nintendo. I'm going to have a Sega Master System. Of course you weren't. It carried on. Yeah, after all, most home computers were used for playing games, so why bother with fripperies such as keyboards? Games like Elite and Nightlaw were welcome shots in the arm, but the writing was on the wall. The industry had yet to fully comprehend it until 1985 brought in an unwelcome reality check. So we apparently all had consoles in 85. Shall we just kind of read more of this rubbish, or shall we just look at some actual stats? Shall we have a look at some actual stats, shall we? And let's go to, I think this is September 1990. And here we are. Oh, this is 91. Sorry, this is 91. New Computer Express, percentage share of games market of each machine in, I think it's 6 months to September 1991. So you'll be looking at this and, yeah. So your Nintendo comes into presumably kind of other there because it's so low. Your Sega market percentage share. Remember, percentage share is, one metric. You've got your kind of sales volume, other things as well. But this is as good a way as any. This is 6 months up to September 1991. Not 1984, not 1985, not 1986, 1991. Unless, of course, the genius at the register thought that perhaps we bought our Nintendos, threw them away again and bought more Spectrums. I don't know. But you've got in the market share of the games sold, you've got the PC down there at 10%, Amiga at 30%, ST at about 15%. 16-bit total of the market is just above 50%. You've got another section there as well. I'm pointing it to it like you can see. It's, at this point in 1991, nothing. That's Mega Drive and SNES. It's not enough to actually register in the percentage of the games market share. Although do remember, SNES and Mega Drive games are far more profitable for retailers to sell, which is why you saw them on the shelves, because you can have as many $1 or $2.99, $3.99 games as you like. You've got to sell like 10 of those, 15 of those to make the same profit as you would on one Mega Drive game. C64 is leading by this point because the Specky led all the way through the 80s in terms of games market share. Machine sales share, as I say, Specky, most popular machine every year from 1982 to 1990. But this is games sales percentage of the market. So by this point, the Specky's crashing as it does all the way through 91 and 92. At this point, the Specky and CPC are pretty much head-to-head. It's going to alter, as you'll see. Sega 8-bit is there about 8%. Very profitable, though. That very profitable, let's say 8% for the manufacturers. 8-bit percentage of the market, 40%. So you can see these are official industry stats. Can't give them. These are published in New Computer Express. I don't have the citation with me. We also have some figures for it's March or April 1992, not 1991 as I've labelled this here. This is 1992. This is the first edition of CPC Attack this comes from. If you want to see the full stats, the failed Amstrad CPC magazine. And this is percentage share of the market for, it's either March or April 1992. C64 21.6%, Amiga 19.8%, although that 19.8% is far more profitable than the C64, which is selling a majority of, budget games rather than full price. Specky at 14.1, which is, I think, better than the previous figures. Sega 8-bit, 7.4. That's the Master System. Very, very profitable. Again, why retailers such as W.H. Smith's dropped home computers for the consoles, because also you didn't have any returns or anything like that. So, again, you're making a huge profit on each cartridge compared to not much on a cassette. ST 7%, CPC 7%, Sega Mega Drive 6.4% by, as I say, March or April 1992. NES, it says Nintendo, it could be, well, there's no SNES in here. That might be because of the launch. Oh, hang on, it's 92. Oh, it was Christmas 92 it came out. I remember my mate getting it, so the SNES isn't out, is it? I don't think it is. So NES at 3.8%, Game Gear 3.2%, that brief period where it was more popular than the Game Boy, with 2.8%. PC is 1.3%, and the Atari Lynx down at 0.7%. So this is March or April. This is spring 1992. And this is when the consoles are starting to come in. And I've mentioned the economic reasons why consoles are getting pushed more by retailers, because they are more profitable on the game sales. And also the games publishers as well. Because why develop for the Spectrum or Amstrad and make a tiny percentage, few quid of profit per game, when you can make far more profit doing a cartridge game, and also you're eliminating piracy. We've all heard the arguments about piracy over the years, but really with cartridges, it's a non-issue. It's a non-issue. However we argue the piracy issue and what percentage may have been pirated and how many sales have been lost, what we can say is you've got no piracy in effect in the UK on cartridge. So, or if you're using you're kind of Segas or Nintendos, so you can see why it's more attractive. But again, this is 1992, and we go back to this article, and it's just Christmas 84 was arguably the last gasp for the golden age of the home computer industry in the UK. No, just no. It says the various pieces of hardware and keyboards attached to family television didn't disappear overnight, and software continued to be released, but changes were afoot that were still felt today, 4 decades later. Sorry, I'm coughing. Yes, they didn't disappear overnight, but what happened was all those tiny manufacturers disappeared, and what you've got coming in is basically an 8-bit market dominated by Amstrad and Commodore, because the Spectrum is now owned by, you get to 86, Spectrum's owned by Amstrad. They're knocking out the Plus 2 at a low price. That's why it's sold so well. It's sold amazingly well because, and of course, Amstrad was so close to Dixon's group that they would pile them up inside the door or what have you, and computer outfit. Dixon's were bundling extra games, make it look really attractive. So for parents buying machines, they would go, oh, there's a computer, we can afford that one. Oh, look, it comes with all that stuff, the mug's eyeful. And we can do that. And Dixon's would get special rates from Amstrad because they'd ship their own the computers themselves from the Far East and would take such a vast quantity that, DSG were really motivated to sell these machines. Pile them high, sell them cheap. And that's why the Specky had that hold on the market for that long. But you had Amstrad coming in with the CPC, 8-bit home computers. Well, PCW, it's a home computer. Right? And that sold, 7 million? That's not even coming out until 1985. So, one of the most popular UK home computers ever. The most popular UK home computer ever, because it outsold the Spectrum. Came out in 1985. That's hardly a death to the market, is it? And you've still got the Archimedes to come out, okay, but kids are being exposed to that in schools. They weren't being exposed to NESs, Master Systems, and so on. And arguably, the PC came in and replaced that use for our home computers. It wasn't consoles replacing our home computers. It was replacing our home computers for certain amounts of gaming. But today we've all got PCs. So and that's what we had in the mid-90s onwards. And we got Amigas, we got STs. Who wrote this? Richard Speed. Who's Richard Speed? Can we find out what Richard Speed... Has he written anything else? He writes quite a lot for the Register. I would suggest... Richard's expertise is Microsoft ecosystem reporter. So he's well-versed in reporting utter... He has decades of experience. There's no research. Richard, you say you're a journalist. Could you provide evidence for your research? Or is this just a lazily hacked-together article to put out between Christmas and New Year to try and get some clicks? Because it's bad enough having American websites rewriting everything for us that say, oh, video games crash happened in 83, no one wanted computers. From then on, we all had Nintendos, which is manifestly rubbish in Europe. You've acknowledged that. You've acknowledged that. But all that happened in 84 and 85 was the UK market consolidated and matured as all markets do. It was the Wild West in the early days. Everyone and their dog was releasing a home computer. And it took, big international companies like Commodore and Atari to do it properly. Amstrad with their expertise in hi-fi and other electronics to go, this is a bit of a mess. What we need to do is come in here, use our expertise in manufacturing and marketing to produce a home computer outfit. And within 2 years, just within the 2 years of the launch of the CPC, Amstrad now own Commodore, and that gives us something like 60% of the UK 8-bit market or home computer market. It's ridiculous at that point, because the other guys, Acorn, was selling in small numbers, primarily into schools. They weren't selling huge numbers through Dixon's. The Atari 8-bits never really got momentum. The MSX, think of this. The MSX, all those big Japanese manufacturers coming into the UK at once with a home computer standard. Standardised everything. Standardised the complete mess in the market. We had Sony, Toshiba, Hitachi, all these companies who made quality TVs, Panasonic. And you knew these Japanese TVs were better than the rubbish we'd been buying with valves made in the UK. And these guys couldn't make a scratch in the UK market. Part of that was pricing because of tariffs, but also just recognising what the UK home computer market needed. Perhaps if they'd unified better and done some more unified marketing. But, we had our home computers all the way through the 80s into 90s. We bought our Amigas and STs. People did. My mate Jamie at school, he got a Mega Drive. In fact, I know a couple of kids who got Mega Drives and SNESes. My mate Jamie, he got a SNES after he had his Amiga, I think. He had an ST before that. So he went Commodore 64, ST, Amiga, and a SNES as well. He will correct me. He might see probably watching this. He'd probably say, I had the ST, then the SNES, then the Amiga. But you know what I mean. They weren't necessarily replacements, these consoles, either. They augmented what you had. I got a GX4000 Christmas 1990. It augmented, that's a terrible example, I know. It augmented what I had. And I know plenty of other people who were the same. I also know people who only had consoles, but that was the 90s. So please, Richard, stop getting computers wrong. Oh dear. Anyway, I'm going to breathe now. And let me know what you think in the comments below, because apparently that's something you say on YouTube. And also for ChinnyVision 2, just do the stuff you're supposed to do as YouTube. Put your hands on your head and sing Ting-a-ling-a-loo or something. That was Benny Hill's song. It wasn't a song by Wrong, and I was suddenly worried that was Rolf Harris. Anyway, hope you're well, and I'll try and do some more videos over Christmas. Cheers.